Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. I have a bit of a problem, and that problem is a good problem, and it's that I've got too many parts laying around and I need to clear some space. So we're going to start assembling this frame. I've got lowered back down from the ceiling, and if you look around, I've got parts up there stacked here, filling the cab and up that side. My garage isn't very big and it's hard to move around in here, and I really want to clean in here, but I don't want to move everything twice. So we're going to start assembling this frame and start putting all the good stuff on it, starting with this guy. 32 Ford front axle, single leaf. And I've already had it, we had it mocked up on this chassis already when I was building the chassis. So I already know it works and fits, but it does need further assembly yet. I didn't put everything on it. I had to pull the spindles back off, or not the spindles, but the hubs. Because I wanted to paint stuff, because once I put the brakes on final, I don't want to have to take them off again to paint behind it and everything. So I figure paint it now, then I can assemble the brakes and everything, and we'll get this thing looking like a truck. Now, the previous videos you saw that I already did the mounting holes in the frame for the axle. You know, I measured back the appropriate distance, which I had the paper laying around here somewhere. There. 37 and 5/8. You know, you gotta do the appropriate measurements, which I've done. This axle, if you're in Ontario at all, I bought this whole assembly, the whole front axle assembly, along with the steering box and steering linkage and the brake kit from Horton's Hot Rods. This guy. He's in Ontario. You can look him up. Great guy to work with. Very knowledgeable. And so far everything's gone together as good as I could hope. Now, one thing I wanted to show you guys on this frame that I'm a little bit embarrassed about. I'd like to think that I know how to weld, and MIG welding is supposed to be the easiest kind of welding you can do, which it is, but I screwed up. And when I did this section of frame right here, I MIG'd it all together. But then I wanted it to look nice. I wanted a smooth look to it. So what I did was I took a grinder and I ground it all down smooth. After thinking about it for a while, and every time I looked at the frame, it just didn't look right to me. I felt like I put aesthetics before functionality. And I was afraid that by grinding the welds off smooth, I may have weakened that area. And it was confirmed when I decided to weld these plates on. I welded it just like I did in the back here, basically reinforcing all of my joints. And I TIG welded it all this time, but I put a nice big plate covering the big X of a joint that I had here, and I actually don't mind the look of it. It'll look better once it's all painted, but it was confirmed to me that I did screw up and weaken the joints when I welded these inside plates on. As soon as I started welding these inside plates, I heard a bang, and the bang was this joint right here had split. It just cracked all the way up. So I ended up re-tigging all the joints on it. I did both sides. Tigged it there, tigged along there, even tigged little bits anywhere I could. So now it should be strong. Now I shouldn't have a problem anymore. Peace of mind. I screwed up, but I fixed it. Now we can move forward. Back to the axle. Let's get going on this. that we got the front axle hanging, we're going to throw our hairpins back in place. They are somewhat side specific just because one be the bottom is longer than the top. I think that's how it was. So this would be the left side. This guy's the right. And this should all just bolt back in place. So I don't know if anybody else has one of these tools in their shop, but I've got a driver, and I've got one of these adapters that you can put in it so you can run a socket. And I just snap mine off. It goes right in the end of that guy there. So now I get to do everything with a ratchet like a peasant. Hey, you get spoiled for a while and then it gets taken away. Oh well. Alright, we got the hairpins in, and I just want to quickly show you the rest of this kit that I got. Comes with the tie rod. That links the left and the right sides together. Comes with the tie rod ends and everything, and comes with the drag link, and that's what's going to go from the right side to the steering box. And all these bars all have welded on ends. They've already been TIG welded and threaded to accept the tie rod ends that come with the kit. There is a left and a right side, not left and right as like in relation to the vehicle. It's more, there's a left hand thread and a right hand thread. It doesn't matter which way the bar goes really, but you know, there's the left tie rod, right tie rod, and even the locking nuts for them. There's a left and a right. This guy closest is the right hand thread. The one with the notch, that's the left hand thread. So obviously you can only put it on one way. Shock mounts came with shocks. Now the shock mounts I don't think I'm going to be putting on just yet. Shocks mount in front of the axle, so they'll be coming up on an angle like this, but my frame stops back here. So these guys are too far back to work. But I do have to build some kind of extension of frame coming forward to mount the front end and my headlights and stuff. So I haven't figured out what I'm doing there yet. So I'm not going to be putting my shocks in. But if you have a frame that extends out past your axle, then you can simply use these guys. And then it's got, these are almost like leaf spring retainers, I guess. They're gonna basically clamp around the leaf spring right there. And I also picked up even comes with instructions, a Vega steering box. And the whole mounting kit and everything for the steering box is there as well. But this guy's basically gonna get mounted down here. And I'll I'll have manual steering on this thing. Not excited about manual steering, but we want to try and keep it as light and simple as possible. So that's what I got. Okay, time to put this together. Now there's two holes on the right side here. Obviously we're going to use the one closer to the front. The rear one is the one that goes with the drag link to the steering box. Let's feed this through the hairpin. I think we're going to come in from the bottom of it. Yeah, we have to come in through the bottom on this one, or else I'm going to hit the hairpins. Alright, so the steering components don't seem to be that difficult to put together here. I've got the drag link just sitting in place, and on that side I've got the tie rod end coming in from the bottom. This side I think I'm going to have it coming in from the top because I don't want this box mounted too high. If I can keep it lower in the engine bay here, the better. So the pitman arm that I've got stuck on here right now, the box is going to sit down like this. Okay. Now, this bar we have to try and keep as parallel as possible to the tie rod end bar, the tie rod bar beside it. So if I can get the pitman arm underneath that, that would be good for me. The box won't be sticking up high here. It's got this mounting plate that I have to weld to the frame, but what's weird about this is this must just be like a universal Vega box you could use on just about anything. But to make it work in this application, this mounting plate has one threaded hole. That's this guy here. It's got threads in there, whereas these ones don't. This is designed to hang below the frame, so you can feed a bolt in from the backside to the backside into the threaded holes on that. But now see, this top hole is a threaded hole. As is the top hole on this is a threaded hole. So what they want me to do is to drill that hole out large enough for this bolt, which is a fine thread bolt. The other two are coarse thread. So the coarse thread bolts will bolt in to this. The fine thread bolt will pass through this hole and thread into this guy. So I got to drill that guy out, and then I can kind of set this all up and mount it in place. I should probably be using a vise for this, but we'll see how this goes first. Yep, let's use the vise. there we have the bracket all welded in place. Now, these welds turned out very nice. I think so anyway. But this kit came with 2 small brackets you have to weld underneath. And just as I was finishing the weld up top, I ran out of filler rod, my thin filler rod I like to use. So I had to use a thicker filler rod, this heavy guy, and it leaves much heavier globs of filler, which I used for down here, and down here does not look very pretty. It was an awkward spot to weld because I've got this in the way. And I'm laying on the back, my back, I've got the pedal between my legs. I mean, I'm full of excuses. But I'm glad those welds are on the bottom where you don't really see them. So, it's on there. I'm gonna weld. No, I'm not gonna weld. I'm gonna bolt the box on now. And get this thing wrapped up. This stuff is still brutally hot, so I'm trying not to burn myself. All right, steering box is mounted. I didn't burn myself. I didn't tighten everything down because I'll go around with the wrench and just snug things up a little bit more. But eventually this is all gonna be getting taken apart again for paint. But I will have to snug it up just so I can move it around. And I am happy with how it turned out. Right, they're all pretty parallel to each other. Nothing is adjusted here, so I mean, I already know that, like, look at this spindle, straight. Not straight. So I do have to do some adjusting. But that takes care of the mounting of the axle and the steering components. There was a reason why I only tacked in my engine mounts. I haven't welded them in full because look at where the steering shaft has to come in. I was worried about that, but I don't think I need to redo it because it's sitting lower than what I thought. See how low it is? I might just have to notch out the bottom of these guys a little bit to bring my steering shaft through, and then right about here is where it's going to go up into the cab. So I don't think I need to redo those mounts, which is good. But I'm not ready to just weld those in solid yet. I do want to make sure. I want to wait until I get my steering shaft, get all mounted. Now the braking components. We are going with Wilwoods. You guys already saw we're using their billet aluminum hubs, which have a nice machined center cap that spins on. Now I had these on when we were building the frame. I took it off because here's a box of Wilwood junk. I bought the drag lights. So there's the front calipers. If I can bust this out without damaging anything. That 4-piston, very light front caliper. The rotors are these guys. Also, not that heavy, right? That's half the width of a normal rotor you would see in the front, right? It doesn't have the fins in between. It's more like what you see on a motorcycle. And it comes with absolutely everything, all your bolts. Brake pads. These are why I had to take the hubs back off. These guys mount, this whole kit is for a 32 Ford front axle. So it comes with the proper mounting gear to mount it right to the inside like that. So I do have to take these bolts back out. That's why they're not all the way in. Comes with the inner part of the rotor. So everything's got to get put together. I will be using a lot of Loctite. Well, that certainly was not hard to put together. It does take a little bit of time, but I love how this all looks. Got the other side done too. Love it. Now basically, if you just follow the instructions, it actually did come with instructions. I just didn't look that closely, but it does have instructions, and basically every bolt on this assembly has a torque spec, and they say to use Loctite, which I was going to do anyway, but yeah, it all went together pretty nicely. You know, you got two different bolt patterns you can go with on the hub. One thing I noticed about all this, I even got the chrome hardware on the front. It'll be the only chrome you see on this thing. There's no panhard bar. I don't know if there was supposed to be one or not. Down here is a mount, right here, for a panhard bar. And usually you would have a bracket affixed to the frame on this side and another bar going across. I even went on Pete and Jake's website, and it shows a panhard bar. So I'm gonna have to call Horton's Hot Rods. That's who I got the whole kit from. Maybe it doesn't really require it because of the way the leaf spring's mounted. This basically, as long as this is secure, this is going to center the axle, and it shouldn't be able to move from side to side. I really don't know. I'm going to have to ask them, and if it does require a panhard bar, I'm going to have to get that off of them and slap that in there too. But all in all, this whole front end went together pretty easily. And I mean, after the frame's built, this whole assembly process only takes a couple hours. And like I said, I can't do the shocks yet until I get the frame extended forward for the grill and what was the other thing? My headlights. So that'll do at a later date. But that pretty much wraps up the front end right now. Next will be the back. Cool. Progress. So that'll be it for this video. Next video we are tackling the rear end. So that's it for now. See ya.